Hello, greetings, and salutations. Welcome aboard my podcast. I am Jason with Jay's Paradise Travel. I appreciate you tuning in and listening to this week's episode. I'm going to be talking about my experience with the Stanford Cardinal team. That's right, it is Stanford Cardinal, something I found out recently before I went to see the game. They are not the Stanford Cardinals, they are not birds. They are Stanford Cardinal in reference to, I believe, it's just the color. My whole life, or not my whole life, but most of my life as a college football fan, didn't know that up until recently. Yeah, they're just the Stanford Cardinal. Just one. Although I guess if you have multiple players on the field and they're all a Cardinal, I guess that could be plural, right? They're all Cardinals in that sense. Anyways, that's besides the point. But that's who I'm going to be talking about in today's episode, as humorous as that is to me that they're the Stanford Cardinal. I went to go see them. It was part of a three-game trip that I went. I got to see the Stanford Cardinal. I also got to see the California Golden Bears as well as the San Francisco 49ers all in that weekend. Those other two teams I've talked about in other podcasts. But this podcast is going to refer to the Stanford Cardinal. It's still funny to say that, I'm not going to lie. Before I get into that, a little bit of house cleaning. You can reach me if you want to get a hold of me to book a cruise or to book a vacation to go see a game. You can reach me on social media with Facebook and Instagram. It is Jay's Paradise Travels. There is no apostrophe in that, just Jay's Paradise Travels. Or you can email me at j.paradise.travels@gmail.com. You can also reach out to me that way as well. All right, so going into this game. Again, this was a weekend trip that I did. My dad was with me, another friend was with me. It was the three of us. Had a nice little guys trip out to San Francisco. And Stanford was actually the first game that we saw. Now, we flew in on Friday night. The two college games was on Saturday, and the 49ers game was on Sunday. We flew in Friday night into San Francisco, and it was kind of, you know, a flight that wasn't too bad. Just caught a couple movies that I hadn't seen in a long time. We were flying Delta. It wasn't exactly a packed flight either, so it was kind of nice to be able to spread out a little bit. Although me and my dad sat together, but our friend was, across the aisle. Um, and we got there. It was late for us, kind of late for them too. We rented a car. Now, with San Francisco Airport, they had like a little tram system that you could get on, and you could go to the car rental places. It was kind of late, so I figured it'd be like a ghost town there, but it was actually had quite a bit of people. We rented out of Avis, and from there, it was connected to their parking garage where they told us the spot that we would go to. We went to that spot. We ended up getting a mystery car. That was what we booked. It kind of was saving some money. You just didn't know what you're getting. Well, we ended up getting a nice big Ford F-150, real nice vehicle. And we took that. Our hotel was not that far away from the airport. I would say it was probably halfway between the airport and the games that we were going to go see. Um, Stanford's in Palo Alto, so it was about maybe halfway from there, and just even a little bit further than that is where the 49ers play in Santa Clara. Um, so we get there, we get to the hotel, and we check in. It took us a little bit of time to check in. There were some people in front of us; they were having some issues, and we were waiting on them. And in the process of waiting, we were kind of getting hungry, and there was an In-N-Out burger just across the street. Well, I guess across the highway. It was kind of on one side of the highway, and In-N-Out was on the other side. So we ended up uh, eventually checking in, putting our stuff there, going to In-N-Out. I love In-N-Out, but my dad and friend didn't care for it too much. Oh well, that is what it is. And then we came back, and we didn't exactly go to bed right away. We ended up staying up for a little bit, but fell asleep and got up eventually and had breakfast there at the hotel, which I always enjoy when a hotel has breakfast, especially one that's not just a continental breakfast with muffins and maybe some fruit, but they have other things too, such as eggs, scrambled eggs, waffles. I love those little waffle machines that you can pour the batter in, put it in, flip it over, it makes waffles. I love that. they had that there along with a bunch of other things. So it was a nice little breakfast that they had. We had that, and then we went out, but we didn't go straight to the game. The game was at noon. It was still kind of early, and being that we're uh, at that point, still on East Coast time, even though we were in the West Coast, we were up early enough where it wasn't like even if we slept in, it wasn't super late when we're rushing to the game. Um, we left, and I wanted to get a T-shirt to go to the game in. So lately, I've decided. Now, I've never really done this before, but I've done it more recently. Whenever I went to a game for another team, I would probably just maybe wear like this, just a shirt with the color that associated with them. I never really got one of their shirts or any of their clothing, unless it was somehow given to me, maybe by a friend I was going with, or if they had a giveaway, at the game or something like that. I didn't really bother with, getting their apparel. Uh, since doing this podcast, though, I have decided that it would be good to have a shirt. So I've been trying to find clothing for a different sports team so that I can do it. I can wear it when I'm going to the game, unless I've already seen the team. And that's okay if I did. If I'm going to do a podcast, I want to wear the shirt. As you'll notice here, I have nothing with Stanford on it, and there is a little bit of story behind that. I had bought so for of that the three teams that I was seeing that weekend, Stanford, Cal, and the 49ers. I have a friend of mine who's a big 49ers fan, and I figured he would have a shirt, and sure enough, he did. Wore it on a podcast that I discussed the 49ers. And then Cal, I bought one that came right away. I bought it off of eBay. And I had also bought one for Stanford off eBay as well. Never came. Never came. Got lost in the mail somehow. I was like, you kidding me? And I had reached out to the guy I bought it from, and yeah, he mentioned, I mentioned it hasn't come yet, and leaving in a couple days. He immediately returned my money, which was really nice of him. He just acknowledged that it got lost in the mail. Okay, well, I mean, we're heading out there. That's what I was thinking. We're heading out there. I'm sure I could find something, but at the same time, because I'm going to use it at the max twice, if I'm going to a game and if when I do the podcast, that's it. Um, because I'm not fans of those teams. I'm a fan for a day, and then I'm going to discuss them on a podcast. I don't necessarily want to spend like a ton of money on a shirt I'm going to wear at the most twice. So normally when I go looking for these, I'll look online if there's some kind of deal. I'll go to like Goodwill or uh, you know Burlington, something like that, where you can maybe find them for not too expensive. If you go to the team store, you're going to be paying a lot more. Anyway, so I thought about that, and I was kind of looking around, and sure enough, there's different stores that weren't too far away from the stadium. We decided to go there. First stop we went to was Walmart, and they did have some, but they weren't as inexpensive as I was hoping to get. And my friend was looking for some clothes too. We had come from Detroit, and he had like long sleeve stuff on and pants. Um, and it wasn't that it wasn't that cool out there in Northern California. We went at like record heat time, at least that's what it seemed like. Um, so he needed to find some clothes that were a little bit cooler, and I was just trying to find a Stanford shirt. I found Stanford shirts, but I was trying to find one that was kind of affordable. I mean, I guess they're all kind of affordable. It's not like they're $100 or anything like that, but just one that for something I'm going to wear only twice. I don't want to spend a ton of money on it. So I was looking for that. Didn't really find it at Walmart, and he didn't really find anything either. So we ended up going from there over to Burlington. But Burlington, I guess we were there too early. They weren't open quite yet. So just a few doors over, they had like this alcohol store, wine and beer and all kinds of alcohol from all over the place. So we went in there, didn't buy anything, just went in there and looked around and wasted a little bit of time as we're waiting for uh, for it to open up. Eventually, to go over there, my friend saw that it was open. We went over there. Couldn't find a shirt. I couldn't find a shirt. I found some shirts of other teams. Actually, I take that back. I did find one. I found one that said the farm. Now, it Stanford is they're known as the farm. I guess they had a farm sometime years ago. I think that's the story behind it. I'm not entirely sure all the details on the story, but I think they had a farm a long time ago, and that's just what they're called, affectionately called the farm. So they had a shirt that was called the farm, and it wasn't super inexpensive, which I was kind of bummed about, especially since this shirt had a rip in it. And you would think like, okay, there's a rip in it. Why would you sell that at full price at your store? Went to ask them about it. They were willing to take like $1 off or something like that. I'm like, are you kidding me? This has like a big rip. It wasn't just like a tiny hole. This was a rip, which I was fine with. Again, I'm going to wear this thing twice at the most. I'll wear it at the game today, and I'll wear it, when I record the podcast. They weren't willing to budge on that, and I wasn't willing to pay what they were asking for it for a shirt that was ripped. Even again, since I'm only going to wear it twice, so I passed on that. There was one that I passed on as well that was of the athletics. It had a athletics A on it. I wasn't seeing the athletics, but when I shop around for these clothes, I'll look at just all teams, because eventually I'll either see them and or do a podcast on them. So I'll be looking around for all sorts of them. I saw one there with the A's, and it just had the A's on it. And I look back on it, and I regret not getting it because, as of right now, as of recording this, the Oakland Athletics are going to be moving eventually to Vegas. Now they're in between. Apparently, this, from my understanding, I think they're going to be playing in like Sacramento for a couple years, and then they're going to be in Oakland. So I think the reason I didn't buy it was I was thinking, or excuse me, Vegas. It's just going to be sitting in my drawer for a few years because I'm not going to go see him now. I'm not going to go see him in Sacramento. That's not their permanent home. I'll go see him when they eventually go to Vegas. But that's a few years from now. And why have this? Why have this thing sitting in my closet for a few years? I think about it now. It's like, well, it was there, and it just has A. It didn't say Oakland or anything, so it could be still the Athletics, unless they change their name when they go to Vegas. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. I don't know. Um, so I kind of regret not getting that one, but oh well. Anyways, the the Stanford shirt, didn't get it. I was like, all right, well, we'll head on over to the game, and maybe we'll see what's going on in the team store or whatever. We head over there, made a pit stop, went and saw some things on the way, and got there. Parking was pretty cool. It was pretty much like, I want to say it was like a high school that was like right across the street from it. Relatively easy parking. There, it wasn't completely full. It wasn't overly expensive from what I remember. So that was nice. We parked there, got out, and we were basically just right across the street from it. But also right across the street from that was also like this shopping area. And my friend was getting kind of hungry. So we went over there and was kind of looking around. They had, all kinds of different things. The first one we looked in was like a burger joint, burger bar kind of thing. They had some games going on. Again, we're on the West Coast, and that was a, a noon start for them, which was just like 3 o'clock, East Coast. So there was already some college football games going on. So uh, they were playing that on the TVs, and they had some burgers, but he didn't want that. So we kept walking around. Eventually, we went to this place where he got like tacos, and I, me and my dad didn't. We kept looking around, but eventually we did come back and eat it, and they weren't too bad. Had a little kick to it, but they weren't too bad. I haven't done anything with this yet, but I even have started recording uh, myself trying food. I've done it on a cruise and there and whatever. I'm not humongous into like, I mean, my thing is cruises and games. Food's not my thing, but it's food can still be part of an experience, especially on a cruise. And to me, just showing a picture of a food, a plate of something, I mean, it's okay. Um, and talking about it, I don't know if I'd be the greatest at talking about food. So I decided to start filming just my initial reaction of trying it out. And I'll see what I do with it if I post it on YouTube or do something with TikTok with it. Because I know TikTok is pretty big, and I'm thinking about, do I want to expand to that too? Maybe you can give me your thoughts on it. Maybe a suggestion or two. Someone had, I never responded to this guy, but he had mentioned to me about doing a vlog. Uh, I guess that's a possibility. I don't know if I if I know everything to go involved with a vlog. It's possible. I should probably, that was months ago that he said I should probably respond to him or something. Sometimes can be bad at that. Anyway, so I did that. I can't recall the name of the little place that we went there with that had them, but they were kind of tasty. I again, I mine had a little kick to it, but it wasn't too bad. But they had a bunch of other things there, bunch of different stores, and they had a CVS there. I went into CVS. I figured maybe they'll have something in there. Sure enough, they did. Again, the price wasn't quite where I wanted it to be. Nor was a shirt. And one thing I have to know, I have to think about when I'm looking at a shirt is because I'm looking at this camera angle, and I got to see like where it is, the logo and everything on the shirt itself. Um, Preferably, I want something that has something like on the near the shoulder, upper chest area, so that you know I can sit like around this angle and be okay. A lot of other stuff has it kind of more on the chest to the stomach of the shirt, and then I have to like lift up my chair and kind of so you can kind of see it, and that's a little bit uncomfortable for me. I'll do it, but it's those type of things that I'm thinking about when I'm looking at potential shirts here. Where the logo is, as well as the price, all that. Went to CVS. They didn't have it. What I was looking for, or at least not for the price, anyways. So passed on there. I was like, all right, no, oh well. Um, and then, but then they also had a team store there that we ended up going into. Same thing. I had a bunch of shirts, but just again, not that I was looking at the price, and I kind of did figure that, but you never know unless you look. Maybe something is on sale or on clearance, and you might get a good deal, but nothing that I found. So nothing there. And we're like, all right, well, let's start head to the game. And we start walking over there. The police were really friendly. We talked to them a little bit on the way, not overly crowded. Um, we and I was and so part of my hobby is taking pictures on the outside of it, but that was hard to do, and I'll get into that in a bit. Anyways, we get in there, and I'm trying to. I mean, going in was no problem at all. Again, it wasn't overly packed. Um, we get in there trying to take some outside pictures, but that's difficult to do. And it's interesting because it's like surrounding the stadium is trees and hills, which is unique, and I think that's a really cool thing with it in regards to this stadium. Um, that it's like from the outside you can't even tell it's there. It's amazing, and it's funny because the Stanford Cardinal, again, not Cardinals. It's not a bird. Cardinal isn't the color, but their logo is a tree, uh, just a tree within an S, and now that I've been there and I've seen all these trees that are around the stadium, that you can't even see a stadium on the outside of it. Makes sense that they got a tree on the logo. Whether that's the reason why they put it on the logo or not, I don't know. But it's there, and they're not the Stanford trees of the Stanford Cardinal, but there's plenty of trees around. In fact, their mascot is a tree. And this thing is a funny looking thing. No offense if you are a Stanford Cardinal fan, alum, grad, whatever. No offense if you love this thing, this mascot. It is just a funny looking it's a funny looking mascot. Yeah. Anyway, but you get in there. So I part of my hobby is to take pictures of the outside of the stadium, and that's hard to do. I did the best I could. I try to find a sign, a picture of the sign of the stadium. Couldn't find that. When I say a sign, I mean like you see it on the stadium. With the name of the stadium. I couldn't find that. I found it like on a sign on the ground kind of thing. On what do you call those things? I don't even know what you call them, but just on the ground. I saw that and I took a picture of that. At least it was something. Um, And then it was interesting. Along, okay, so there's all these trees, but there's also these hills too. So within the hills, they have these, staircases you go up, which I did do. I did go up there because I heard that it could be um, a nice view from up there, and I wanted to go up there, maybe take some pictures from that view. But our seats were down below, so we went up there. I took some pictures up there. It was a nice, nice view. And then eventually, and again, I tried taking what I could of the outside. Went downstairs, and you kind of go through these long tunnels in order to get into the bowl, into the stadium. So that was unique with the stadium. And in one of the end zones, they had these arches, which I thought were really cool. That was a unique thing. Not everyone has arches. The only one that I could think of really, USC has some. Ohio State has a big one, but not everyone's got arches, and I love arches anyways. They had that, and I thought that was a really cool feature of the stadium itself. That's worth seeing. And a nice big press box too on one of the sidelines. It wasn't the sideline that we were sitting on, which was fine because if the side, whatever sideline I'm sitting on, if someone's behind me, I'm not looking at it that much. But as I'm watching the game, you can, see it right there. They had a nice big press box there, and there was two stories to it. I don't want to say it was like a traditional bowl. It wasn't. They'd have uh, the lower level as well as an upper deck. And so we were on the lower level, kind of, I guess you could say, the end zone on a corner kind of thing. And we did walk around it before the game started. They had a team store in there. Figured, all right, hey, why not take a look? We'll see. We'll see what's in there. Took a look. Nothing. Nothing within my price range. Nothing within what I was looking for podcast purposes. None of it. I'm like, I guess it is just, it is not meant to be for me to have a Stanford Cardinal shirt. Just not meant to be. From eBay, not getting it shipped to me on time, to Walmart, to Goodwill, to the team stores, to CVS, and all of it. Nothing was working out for me. I had the red shirt. I'm glad I brought the red shirt. This was the same shirt I wore to that game, and that's what I was gonna wear. That's what I was, stuck with, and that's what I'm doing for the podcast. Yeah, so that's my experience, my story with the Stanford Cardinal shirt. Anyway, so yeah, we walk around. Um, went in there, and they got different vendors. They had different like little what do you call it? Let's say marketplace, grab and go kind of things where you just take it, you go up, you scan it out, you pay for it, and as well as your traditional, um, where you can get hot dogs and hamburgers and chicken fingers and all that type of stuff. Those type of vendors. So they had both of those. And one thing that also was kind of nice around the stadium, as you're walking through that corridor on the lower deck, they had a lot of pictures and stuff of history, including players. Now, I'm not humongous on Stanford history, in all honesty, but there were some people that I did recognize. One of them was John Elway. I mean, now he's a famous quarterback. Um, saw him, and a couple pictures down from him was Brad Muster, who I mean that was kind of I was really young for that, but I remember that name from Tecmo Super Bowl. I think he was on the Saints if I remember correctly, whether he was that his whole career I don't know. But anyways, I remember his name. So they had that, and then like Andrew Luck and other things like that, other names. They had some history of the stadium itself, like when it was built and renovated. Um, pictures of that. I'm not a humongous history guy, but I can appreciate it. And so that was kind of cool. I don't always see that in stadiums too. So all in all, the stadium itself, not humongous, you know, more mid-level, I guess you could say. How many people they hold, I don't know. I'm guessing maybe about maybe maybe around 35,000 ish, something like that. Um, and it definitely wasn't full that day. Stanford didn't exactly have like the best record in the world going into it. They've had some decent years um, in the past. But they've also had some low years too. Uh, and so, as someone who works at Michigan and, you see Michigan stuff all around, Jim Harbaugh, who was the head coach for Michigan, one of his stops where he, cut his teeth in his way up his coaching ladder was at Stanford. And I remember to this day when Stanford, he took them over, they weren't great. And USC at the time was like a juggernaut. And with a backup quarterback, they went into a game against USC and upset the Trojans. Um, and then kind of built it from there, eventually leaving for the 49ers and handed it over to who did he hand it over to now? Uh, the name's slipping me at the moment. David something, I think. Anyways, so they've had some good years, and he kept it going for a little bit too. But then they've also had some down years too. And I don't know if like I said, this year I don't think they're exactly lighting the world on fire too. So it wasn't exactly a packed house. I thought it was cool that they did bring back some of those former players while we were there. And I tried taking pictures. It was kind of, a little difficult for me to do, but some that were, real famous that were back was like Toby Gerhardt, Richard Sherman, um, others too, but those are the two that, stood out to me and I tried taking pictures of. And I even got to like at one point it came up the section where we were at least Toby Gerhardt did. And he was kind of up just above us. And when we went out to walk around, I got to see him. I didn't talk to him or, there's other people around him. And I don't know. I try not to, bother people when they're, if I see a star or celebrity or something like that. Maybe when I was younger, it'd be, exciting to try to get someone's autograph. I guess as an adult, I kind of don't do that anymore. I figure they probably want to be left alone or whatever. So I didn't go up to him or anything, but it was kind of cool to at least see him there, and that was all part of the experience and of being there at that stadium. Now, as regards the game itself, Stanford did have a decent start to the game, and they did at one point drive down the field. I think it was their opening possession. Drove down the field, but couldn't get too far with it. Ended up settling for a field goal that they missed. Oh well, you miss a field goal. Virginia Tech took it, went down, scored a touchdown, took a 7-0 lead. Virginia, uh, not Virginia Tech, Stanford, I believe it was their second drive, drove down the field again and got all the way to like maybe the 2 yard line, and a quarterback ran it and ended up fumbling the ball at like the 2 or 1 yard line. Virginia Tech recovered it, couldn't score. Had they would have scored on those two possessions and made it like get 10 points on the board, 7 points on the board, whatever, then it may have been a little bit of a different game. But they after that point they weren't really recovering from it. Virginia Tech took over a little bit further. Virginia Tech basically scored a touchdown in every single quarter. It was up 14-0 in the second. Third quarter, uh, the pass that the guy threw was a little bit behind him, the receiver, but he kind of reached down. It was right around his hip, just kind of grabbed it and then ran past everyone. That was a pretty slick touchdown too. That at that point that made that 21-0. It was about a 55-yard passing play. Later on in the third quarter, I believe it was near the end of it, Stanford finally did get on the board with a touchdown. It was and it was in the end zone that we were kind of near. I think they pitched it to like the running back, and then he threw the touchdown pass to make it 21-7. Eventually, Virginia Tech scored again in the fourth, made it 28-7. And what was interesting, I've seen Virginia Tech once. I haven't done the podcast on it yet, but I've seen them once in Lane Stadium, and they lost 28-7. And now this is my second time seeing them, and they were winning 28-7. And I thought, boy, that's going to be interesting if this score holds up and it's 28-7. Both times seeing Virginia Tech would be a 28-7 game, just different, teams that winning it. But alas, that didn't happen. They ended up kicking one field goal Um, I think maybe near towards the end of the game, and made it 31-7, and that ended up being the final. Virginia Tech won 31-7. Stanford lost, and all home teams that I saw that weekend all lost. Cal and the 49ers both lost, both comeback by the other team. This one wasn't a comeback. Stanford never had a lead. Virginia Tech ran away with the game and won quite handily, 31-7. It was quite a hot day that day. I will tell you. Again, I was kind of surprised about this, and I'm glad that my friend, we were at Burlington, he found clothes that right they were cooler. Like t-shirts, shorts, that type of thing. It wasn't long pants, wasn't long shirts. It was cool because it ended up getting up to like 98 degrees that day, and it's just us in the sun, not a cloud in the sky that I can remember seeing. And and me, diehard man, I'm just sitting there just baking, watching the game, and taking my pictures and sitting through it. And my dad and my friend, like the first half, they suffered through it. Second half, we went up at halftime. We went up, walked around, got some water. We were getting water, throughout the game, and they pretty much stayed up there because it was shade up there. It wasn't as hot. Me, I'm down there just by myself. People were coming and going. At one point, a group of kids came, and because there wasn't a whole lot of people there, they were, I don't know, they were like a football team maybe or something, and they're yelling and hollering for Stanford, and I'm probably everyone could hear them. They were trying to get on the scoreboard too. I don't think that ever happened. Yeah, and then but there was a few fans here and there, and yeah, give them credit for sticking around. But yeah, it was definitely a hot one. There was one fan I believe had a Miami shirt on. Now they weren't playing Miami, but Miami was later on that evening against Cal, which we went to, and he was going to that game too because I asked him about it. And at one point, I think it was in the first half, there was a lady up above that was kind of like at the very top of the section, kind of where like ADA seating would be, and she's just screaming out, all kinds of things against Miami, like cheaters, calling them cheaters, and I can't remember if she was screaming "you suck" or not, but I'm like, who's she yelling at? I mean, Miami's not even in the game. What is she? Is she yelling at that one guy that has a Miami shirt on? What's she doing? I don't know. I never talked to her. Someone's screaming. I don't exactly have a big intention to go talk to them to see why they're screaming. But anyways, I thought that was kind of funny though. Like, what's your beef with Miami? They're not even in the game. So yeah, and I'm trying to think what does Miami maybe a long time ago there might have been something years ago. Was she thinking of that? Because I can't recall anything recently that Miami's been involved with. Maybe they have, and I just didn't pay attention. Or, you know, I don't know, but who knows? Anyways, so she was screaming that out. I thought that was funny. Uh, what else here? So I've talked about the shirts. I've talked about the game itself, the stadium. Um, Trying to think if there's anything else here that I thought was standout worthy. The players were there. Yeah, I think that kind of covers most everything. Very, like I said, a very hot day. I mean, 98 degrees. We put something on. We forgot to bring our suntan lotion. Um, we picked something up at CVS and or it was at Walmart. It was at Walmart, but uh, I don't know how great it was. It wasn't until after we bought it, I saw it was like SPF 6. I'm like, I don't know if that's enough. uh, I mean, I did get kind of red. Um, but it wasn't too bad. Yeah, what am I saying? Yeah, well, I'm talking about like I didn't get sunburned bad or anything like that, but the weather itself was rough. And again, I felt like like I expect that in Southern California, not Northern. 98 degrees. But sure enough, it was. Yeah. And then after we left the stadium, traffic wasn't horrible. Where everything was congested, we ended up going the other way, and it was pretty much a clear shot out of there. And then we went towards the city, towards San Francisco, and we went through there because we were going to the next game we were going to was Cal, which is north of that, but we went through San Francisco in order to do it. Um, So we went there to, we wanted to go to Fisherman's Wharf, get something to eat, kind of see the Golden Gate Bridge, which we never, I thought we did, but we didn't. It was a different bridge. I think it was the Oakland Bridge, Oakland County Bridge. I forgot the name of it, but um, anyways, so we had a little bit of, experience with San Francisco. I'm debating whether or not, I mean, I don't know if it was enough to make a podcast out of it or anything, or I guess I'll just reference it in the podcast now. If I do another separate one, we'll see. But maybe I'll post pictures of it on on social media because I did get a few pictures and it was cool to see. It'd be cool to like visit San Francisco. I visited San Francisco before when I was like a teenager, and as a flight attendant, I've had layovers in San Francisco in the years past. Um, to be able to hang out in San Francisco, I haven't done it in a long time. And there's still some teams I need to go back to see. Those were my first time ever seeing any games. The Giants, for one, we did drive by the Giant Stadium while we were heading, into the city. That was kind of cool. They're right on the water. That'd be a nice experience. And then Golden State, the Warriors, would be nice to go see them too. They don't have a hockey team, San Francisco, but they got baseball and basketball. I guess their closest hockey team would be San Jose, which isn't that far away, But anyways, so yeah, Stanford Cardinal of the three, that was the one that got blown out the most. It wasn't the closest exciting game in the world. Still glad to see it though. They do have a little bit of history with some things. They're not the biggest historical in the world, but they it wasn't too bad, and glad I got to see them. If that's something you feel like you'd like to see, let me know. Again, you can reach out to me at j.paradise@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to help set you up with something to go see them. Maybe you're going out there to catch a game like me. Maybe you want to actually go to Stanford. I mean, Stanford is a prestigious uh, educational school. Even if they're not like humongous on the football field. I mean, their academics are top notch. So maybe you're going out there for that, or maybe you just want to go visit the area. Maybe you want to see the campus. Whatever. Let me know. Be happy to help you with that. And you can reach out to me in that email, or you can reach out to me again through social media. Jay's Paradise Travels. There's no apostrophe in that. It's just Jays. Make it nice and simple. Jay's Paradise Travels. You can reach out to me that, and please look that up just to see some of the pictures I have of my travels as well. And in addition to that, please, if you enjoy this podcast, I enjoy making them for you. We as podcasters need your help and support, so please like it, rate it, subscribe to the channel. Please share it with other people. Let them know about it. The bigger the audience gets, the better it is for the algorithms to get the name out there, which is what I want to do. I try to continue to build up this travel agency business for myself and be able to get the name out there to as many people as possible, help them out too. So again, please like, rate, subscribe, share, 5-star review, all those things that are part of it. Feel free to leave some comments as well. I may not always respond to comments. I've never been great at that. Maybe I'll try to be better, but I do read them and appreciate them. So thank you for that. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you guys another time. Take care. Bye bye.